put 50 on Cheetahs. The Stormers made it 5 victories out of 5 in Super Rugby this season as they outclassed the Cheetahs, prevailing 53-10 on Saturday. Dillyn Leyds 2, Sikhumbuzo Notshe 3, du Plessis, du Preez and Siya Kolisi scored the hosts' tries in an impressive triumph. In reply for the Cheetahs, their only try came from Paul Showman as they suffer a 4th defeat in 6 games and fall further off the pace. The Stormers looked a class apart from their opponents from the outset as they went into the halftime interval leading 22-3 in Cape Town. The Cheetahs, who had lost Sargiel Peterson to injury before the game, struggled with their defensive decisions in the wider channels and the hosts punished them on several occasions. Nico Lee was one man to make errors with his decision-making and the Stormers made him pay. On 7 minutes the Stormers were ahead thanks to Du Preez's boot as he sent over one from distance after no clear release in the tackle. That became 8-0 7 minutes later when the in-form SP Mare drew the defender and sent over Leyds from 20 meters out for his first try. Fred Zeilinga did cut the lead to 5 points on 22 minutes later, but the Stormers responded with interest soon after as Mare this time set up number 8 Notshe for a run-in. That made it 15-3 to the home side and there was still plenty of time before the break to strike. They did just that 2 minutes from halftime as Viljoen capitalized on poor defense to free Leyds, who scrambled his way over for 22-3. At this point the Stormers had the bonus point in their hands but knew they had to solidify that in the second half, which they set about doing on 42 minutes when Mare again was the creator, setting up centre Du Plessis for a simply try. With the conversion it was now 29-3. Despite the Cheetahs hitting back through a driving maul that Showman was at the back of, the Stormers were over again on 54 minutes when fly-half Du Preez's lovely chip and Regather saw him race over for the hosts' 5th try. His conversion attempt however struck the upright. The Stormers were now motoring and their 6th try wasn't too long in coming, with Kolisi rolling off Ebenetzebeth for a 41-10 advantage. Mare was again involved in their next score as he put the ball back inside for Notshe, which was his second crossing, after good initial work from Viljoen. With Du Preez having been replaced, Kurt Coleman converted the try and on 66 minutes the Stormers were now 48-10 ahead. To rub salt in the Cheetahs' wounds, they had the chance to cross for a second try when Henko Venter looked set to go over from long range. However, Cheslin Colby's last-ditch tackle led to the number 8 spilling the ball over the try line, leaving him red-faced. The Stormers made them pay as they rubber-stamped their win late on, with Kolisi setting up Notshe for his hat-trick in an 8-try success. The scorers, for Stormers: tries, Leyds 2, Nots 3, Du Plessis, Du Preez, Kolisi Cons, Du Preez 4, Coleman Pen, Du Preez for Cheetahs, try, Showman Con, Zeilinga Pen, Zeilinga. Young star for Leinster in win over Wasps. A superb first half showing laid the platform as Leinster moved into the semi-finals of the European Champions Cup following an excellent 32-17 triumph over Wasps in the last 8. Leo Cullen's men dominated the opening period and appeared to have the game won by halftime after Isa Nacewa, Jack Conan and Robbie Henshaw all crossed the whitewash. Jimmy Gopperth's penalty was the English outfit's only score before the break and they also struggled at the start of the second half. Johnny Sexton kicked another 3-pointer to extend their buffer and at that point the match was effectively over. Christian Wade and Gopperth went over to give Wasps hope but Fergus McFadden's touchdown completed the victory. Knockout rugby is meant to be a tight contest but the opening half hour between two attack-orientated teams proved to be a free-flowing affair. It was mainly the hosts that showed their hand, though, and their big runners were causing problems for the small Wasps back line. Conan and Sean O'Brien were magnificent and the Irish province deserved the 8-0 advantage given to them by Sexton's penalty and Nacewa's try. Joey Carberry was another to enjoy the wide open spaces and the fullback's superb cut-out pass set up the wingers' score. The visitors were struggling to find their fluency and when they did after a Kurtley Bale break sent Willie Eliru clear, the South African international inexplicably dropped the ball across the whitewash. That was a costly error, despite Gopperth reducing the arrears from the tee soon after, as Leinster scored their second try. Once again Carberry was the instigator, finding space on the right-hand side for McFadden to break clear before good support play by Conan saw the number 8 scamper over. Henshaw then touched down following a stolen lineout and a 22-3 buffer at the interval was what Cullen's side deserved for their dominance. The Irish province maintained their momentum in the early stages of the second period and a Sexton penalty made the task even harder for the Premiership outfit. To their credit, Wasps improved and a piece of individual brilliance by Wade got them back into the contest before another solo effort, this time from Gopperth, made it an 8-point game with 20 minutes remaining. Questions were now being asked of the three-time European champions but they answered them magnificently and McFadden's late try sealed their semi-final place. The scorers, for Leinster: tries, Nacewa, Conan, Henshaw, McFadden Cons, Sexton 3 pens, Sexton 2 for Wasps, tries, Wade, Gopperth Cons, Gopperth 2 pens, Gopperth. Lions edge Sharks in Thriller. The Lions moved 5 points clear at the Africa 2 summit after they won a thrilling clash with the Sharks 34-29 at Ellis Park on Saturday. It was a drama-filled game in Johannesburg but a late try from Jaco Creel proved the difference as the Lions claimed their 5th win of 2017. Malcolm Marx and Court Nalskosan also crossed for the hosts while Sini Oosthuizen and Cobus Van Wyk went over for the Sharks, who will feel unlucky not to take the 4 points points with Conan Bosch starring for them. The Sharks would have been kicking themselves going into halftime as they let slip a 10-point lead after a late converted try brought the Lions within 3. That capped a decent fight back from the Lions, who in truth appeared shocked at how the Sharks took the contest to them. Bosch was their orchestrator and he opened the scoring on 3 minutes with a penalty after Lions lock Andries Ferreira did not roll away. That became 10-0 5 minutes later as a great angle from wing Van Wyk 40 meters out led to him finding prop Oas Chuisen, who finished off. The Lions looked shell-shocked but got themselves onto the board on 13 minutes when the Sharks had strayed offside. Jantjies did the rest. However, on 20 minutes a long-range effort from Bosch made it 13-3 before the Sharks were denied not once but twice. Firstly, a penalty from Bosch struck the upright, but after they managed to regather possession, Andre Esterhuizen thought he had scored on the left wing, but after the TMO intervened the visitors were denied due to an earlier clear out from Etienne Oas Chuisen which saw him make contact with the neck. The Sharks had every right to feel upset, but one man keeping his cool was Bosch, as after a Jantjies penalty, the Sharks fly half set back in the pocket from 46 meters out to send over a sweetly struck drop goal. Those trading of blows meant the score was 16-6 to the visitors. Then came a late onslaught from the Lions as they capitalized on Lock Oas Chuisen's yellow card, with Marks powering over off the back of a driving maul to give them a major boost going into the break. The hosts would also of course start the second half with a player advantage. They made that count in the 44th minute when quick hands led to Skosan scrambling over on the left, with Jantjies moving them 20-16 ahead. The Lions had their tails up at this point but maybe looked ahead of themselves when turning down a simple penalty from in front. It did not result in a try, but luckily for their decision makers, fullback Cutsy's drop goal had the distance to make it 23-16 on 52 minutes. But the Sharks weren't done, and when Van Wyk finished off on the right wing for a try converted by Bosch, suddenly the game was locked up. With a quarter of the game to play there was more than a feeling plenty of drama was still to come at Ellis Park, and it didn't disappoint. First, Bosch struck a long-range penalty following an offside on 65 minutes to nudge the Sharks 26-23 ahead, but the lead did not last long when Jantjies leveled from wide on the right. If it wasn't clear before it was now that the contest was set to go right down to the wire. Bosch then struck a penalty from at least 65 meters out on 70 minutes, but again Jantjies cancelled that out with 6 minutes to play, his effort from a much simpler angle and distance. The thrills kept coming until the end though, as a long-range drop goal attempt from Bosch struck the crossbar, and from the counter the Lions crossed through flanker Creel. The assist went to Quagga Smith, and despite Jantjies missing the extras they held on to win an epic derby. The scorers: 4 Lions tries, Marks, Skosan, Creel Cons, Jantjies 2 pens, Jantjies 4 drop goal, Cutsy for Sharks tries, Oas Chuisen, Van Wyk Cons, Bosch 2 pens, Bosch 4 drop goal, Bosch yellow. Munster semi-final spot. Munster booked their place in the Champions Cup semi-finals after they beat Toulouse 41-16 in a deserved victory at Thomond Park. The Irish province began the encounter on the front foot and went 13-3 ahead through John Ryan's converted try and a pair Tyler Bailly penalties. Jean-Marc Dossain, who had earlier kicked a 3-pointer, added 2 more as the French side kept themselves in contention at the interval. CJ Stander's score and successive Bailly efforts off the tee maintained the hosts' control on the encounter, but Toulouse refused to go away and Paul Perez's touchdown reduced the deficit. Munster, however, had done enough, and, after their fly half kicked a 5th penalty, Darren Sweetnam and Andrew Conway finished off an excellent day for Irish rugby. Toulouse, once the giants of French rugby, are struggling in the lower reaches of the top 14 and are now out of Europe. They reside in 10th position in the table and, despite making it to the quarter-final stage, were not at all convincing in the Champions Cup. That lack of form was duly exposed by an high-tempo home side early on, who took advantage of Francois Cross' rash attempt at a charge down to build a 10-0 lead. The number 8 was yellow-carded after just 1 minute for elbowing replacement scrum half Duncan Williams, an act of recklessness which allowed Munster to kick deep into the opposition's 22. Williams, starting in place of the injured Conor Murray, dusted himself off and set about inching the hosts towards the line. The forwards battered away before the dam eventually burst when Ryan crossed the whitewash next to the left upright. Bailly kicked the conversion and then added a penalty, but the visitors gradually grew into the contest and reduced the arrears via Dossain's effort off the tee. Munster's fly half restored the 10-point buffer before the French outfit's gargantuan forwards exerted their influence and forced Rassi Erasmus men to infringe. Successive penalties by Toulouse's standoff in the final 8 minutes of the half duly enabled them to go into the break with a genuine chance of upsetting the odds. However, another blitz by the Irishmen kept the visitors on the back foot. Bailly was on target from the tee before Stander, a man that typifies the province's spirit this season, touched down from close range. Following another penalty from the home side's fly half, Munster's pathway to the last 4 appeared set, but Perez's controversial try where Johan Maestry's forward-looking pass to the wing was deemed flat set up a nervous final quarter. Munster responded well to that setback, though, and Bailly took them 11 points in front. With Toulouse now overplaying, Sweetnam and Conway took advantage of some loose play by the visitors to complete a fine win. The scorers: for Munster, tries, Ryan, Stander, Sweetnam, Conway Cons, Bailly 3 pens, Bailly 5 for Toulouse, try, Perez Con, Dossain pens, Dossain 3 yellow card, cross, Conant by by Zebre. Zebre picked up just their second Pro12 win of the season on Saturday when they defeated champions Connacht 25-22 in Parma. The victory moves Zebre 2 points behind rivals Treviso in the battle to secure Champions Cup qualification for next season. It was Connacht who had the better start, with early tries from Stacey Ely and Craig Ronaldson putting Connacht into a 12-3 lead. Derek Minnie hit back for Zebre with their first try, and once Carlo Canna knocked over his second penalty on the half-hour mark, the hosts moved into a 13-12 lead, which was how it stayed at halftime. Tommaso Boni's try then helped Zebre to open a narrow gap over the Irish side, who responded with a John Cooney penalty, leaving the contest finely poised heading into the final quarter. Minnie's yellow card looked to have put Zebre on the back foot, but from the resulting Connacht lineout they stole the ball and worked their way upfield for a try to Eduardo Padovani. Canna converted to put Zebre ahead 25-15, and with Minnie still off, Zebre briefly were down to 13 men after another yellow card, this time for Matteo Pratichetti. Connacht rallied enough to score through Josh Rowland, converted by Ronaldson, which put them in losing bonus territory, chasing a dramatic comeback. But it wasn't to be, as Zebre saw the game out for an invaluable victory. The scorers for Zebre: tries, Minnie, Boni, Padovani. Cons: Canna 2 pens, Canna 2 yellow cards, Minnie, Pratichetti. For Connacht: tries, Ely, Ronaldson, Rowland. Cons: Cooney, Ronaldson, pen, Cooney.